Good afternoon. This is Tad Radzinski. I want to welcome everybody to our webinar today, Vision to Value, the Profit and Corporate Responsibility. I'm very excited to talk about this topic today because for those of you that have been following along on our webinar series, there's a lot of effort and activity that goes into putting together a corporate responsibility or sustainability program. And today we're going to talk about how you reap the benefits of that program and basically take it from an idea into action and then actually into results. So very excited to talk about that today. Did want to mention that we are having our Corporate Responsibility Revolution Strategy to Success seminar on January 28th here in Philadelphia. We have a few seats left and registration is still open for that. And for those of you that have been following along in the webinar series, this seminar is a great way to get a full day of hands-on activities and workshop activities and a workbook that helps you either help you develop a new program, or for those of you that are on the webinar today that have a well-developed program, be able to take it to the next level. So, and we do offer a discounted registration fee for anybody that has attended our webinars on a regular basis. So if you get a chance and can make it, we'd love to have you. And like I said, we have a few seats left right now. So if we look at sustainability programs, for those of you that have been following along, you've seen this slide quite often. And basically, this is our roadmap on how we develop a sustainability program. You know, typically, you're starting out with some kind of management commitment, or maybe some of you have started with an idea within your own company and then been tasked with, you know, building a sustainability program and figuring out how you're going to do that. We talked a lot about benchmarking of operations and understanding various metrics of how your organization is performing. We've also talked a lot about conducting sustainability assessments and taking a look at, you know, where the opportunities are to improve performance on the triple bottom line, both environmental, economic, and social performance of the organization. And then based on that, the results of your benchmarking and the sustainability assessment that you have created, developing some goals and identifying operations efficiency improvements in various programs to help you meet those goals. So essentially what you've done is got the whole program developed, you have a plan, you have goals, and hopefully you've started to implement things. And today we're going to be really talking about what is the value of this. So you've done all this work, and now how do you really get results out of your sustainability program that can provide benefits to the organization and really improve the overall sustainability of the company or organization that has adopted this information. There's definitely multiple ways to become profitable when you're talking about sustainability, and ultimately what I really focus on is trying to get different companies or organizations to make sustainability part of their everyday business strategy. It's really important not to make sustainability another program that people have to worry about and try to help you out with, or, you know, track information. You want it all to be seamless and basically connected and really part of the way you do business. And if you can definitely tie your sustainability plans into your corporate mission or integrate it into you know, the business strategy, like I said, very valuable as far as getting things up and running, getting people excited about it, and actually getting results. Another important aspect of when you're getting into the whole sustainability mission, or even if you're advancing your sustainability mission, don't worry about, you know, having situations where everything may not work out perfectly. You have to do some experimentation. For example, if you want to try to get more employees engaged, or you want to try to get your customers excited, you know, it's going to require trying a few things, you know, maybe reaching out to people or doing education sessions, or, you know, even having contests, you know, around maybe paper reduction or waste reduction among departments, different things like that. And what you're going to find out is what works and what doesn't work. And, you know, if something's not working, then, you know, you either evolve it, adapt it, or change it and try something new. So don't think that when you start out with implementation that, you know, you may have some things that work really well, you may have some things that don't work really well, and that's pretty much the way, you know, businesses operate. So adapt and adjust and you'll keep things rolling in a great manner. We've talked a lot about education over the webinars we've been doing over the last few months, and I cannot emphasize how important education is. I'm really excited to have all of you on this webinar today, because this means you're getting some education which is going to help you advance activities within your organization or your company. And if you think about it, we're really all trying to do this to make major change, not only for our companies, but for the good of all of us on the planet. So you definitely want to have a good education program, and that could mean educating salespeople. It could mean educating your suppliers. It could mean educating top management. Could mean even educating, getting down to the level of going out to the manufacturing facilities, if you're any manufacturers on here today, and letting people know that you have a program and this is what it is, and that kind of thing. Very important to do that. I also encourage everyone we work with to definitely listen to what your customers are asking for, and integrate that. We talked a lot about materiality and doing materiality assessments. Getting that information from your stakeholders is going to be really important. And let's not forget, part of your materiality assessment involved understanding your risk and what's important to you as an organization. So if anybody's on the webinar today that's reliant on certain materials or chemicals or products or whatever, we have to realize that with the growth of the population on the planet, the limited resources that we do have, that we will most likely run into some resource shortages in the future. So how will we adapt to that? How will we be prepared for that? Sustainability means thinking about the future and not just the present. Also, legislative pressure may be coming. There may be a carbon tax someday, or we may see some other issues. There's a lot of activity around chemicals and products and materials. Various organizations are looking at that. So being prepared to address that is going to be really important. And if you're not doing that stuff, you're not going to be able to compete. One thing I wanted to mention while we're on the topic of resources is we do know that all the resources that are on the planet are all that we have. So if you think about it, we don't really put a cost on the value of the resources we get. We know there's a monetary cost for, say, copper or steel or oil. I think oil is down in the $50 per barrel range right now, which is throwing markets into all kinds of crazy stuff. However, if we really think about like ecosystem services, the ability of the planet or a watershed to give us clean and fresh water and to purify water, or for the carbon cycle or trees to absorb CO2 and produce oxygen. No one has really put numbers around that, and there's actually studies on that right now, which is really going to give us some valuable information in the future when we really look at the true cost of what our impacts are from manufacturing operations, or even just driving our cars, or just basically running our operations and organizations. So keep your eye out. This is going to be something that's coming here. This is actually a lot of discussions that go on at GreenBiz, and there's companies like True Cost that are actually trying to put metrics around this. And what's really interesting is that some studies that have shown that if companies really look at their costs, their impacts, and if we were able to put some dollars and cents around what the effects were of the impacts, it's probably a high likelihood that a lot of profits would be greatly reduced. Also really important to remember that sustainability is definitely going to set you apart, and this is where it's really key to get the word out, to market, to tell people what you're doing, to make your stakeholders aware, especially if you've done sustainability assessments or materiality assessments, basically looking at what is expected from your stakeholders, what's important to the company, and then getting that information out to your customers or your suppliers or whoever's important. And really what this is going to demonstrate to various folks is, the company, hey, you've got a sustainability program, and that looks like, you're definitely with it. You have a long-term plan, forward thinking, definitely a good outlook on the future. And it is proven through studies of companies that are in the Dow Jones Sustainability Index and other different organizations like that, or different metrics, that we are seeing that those companies that have sustainability programs generally perform much better than companies that don't. And that means financially, environmentally, socially. Also, you want to remember that you have to continue to focus on your environmental, social, and governance factors. There's a lot of companies that are requesting that information. And then by doing this, you can definitely set yourself apart. If you're a company that's a manufacturer, or you're in a supply chain, or you're buying from a supply chain, you want to be able to show that what you're doing can not only, provide good information to your customers, but you also have the ability to go back and reach back down your supply chain and push that back to them and build better relationships there as well. So imagine, this is a slide we've shown before. Imagine if you're Kaiser Permanente and you're a supplier to them, and they have this, you get this questionnaire in the mail, or email, and you're able to answer a lot of these. That is definitely going to give you a lot of credibility with this organization. They're going to say, hey, this company is with it. They're definitely able to answer these questions. They have a good program. This is someone we're going to want to purchase with. And Kaiser Permanente is not the only one doing this. There's hundreds of companies right now sending out these supplier questionnaires. Walmart started it. Kaiser Permanente is doing it. There's many different manufacturers that are reaching down their supply chain with these. Some of our customers are doing it. So again, if you're not able to answer this, this is kind of going to be something that I think is going to have an effect on your ability to continue to do business with this, because they're going to find somebody that can answer these, and they're going to want to continue to work with them. Another important thing to think about is, as you're implementing your program, there's going to be some things you just can't measure. For example, it's really easy to measure a reduction in energy consumption, or it's really easy to measure various information around like water and emissions and packaging and raw materials, but some metrics just can't be measured. For example, by having a good sustainability program and putting that information out there, that's going to result in most likely a good corporate reputation or a good image of your brand. Very important to think about that. How do you really measure that? Well, I think it's easier to measure when your brand or your reputation is hurt more so than when it's good. So obviously, looking at that as a area to be important, an area to communicate to management that this is something that we definitely keep an eye on because our competitors are doing this stuff. Also, reducing business risk. Having a good sustainability program, means you're planning, you're doing work to, get things set up for the long term for your organization. So really important there. But again, is that measurable? Not so much. It's not so easy. What about attracting better employees? I know for a fact that a lot of the organizations we work with, a lot of their sustainability program efforts are around attracting good employees and retaining employees, because the generation of young people that are graduating from colleges and looking to work are definitely interested in, working at companies that are fully committed to sustainability. And many of them are willing not to maybe make as much money, or if they know they're in a purpose-driven organization, they're more excited about that than the dollars and cents. So we're seeing that as a huge opportunity. And that is something that I think, could be measured, maybe through questionnaires and whatnot. Other things to think about are boosting sales, and then customer loyalty and retention. I think I can come back to that statement I just made about the thing I said around Kaiser Permanente. If you're able to answer all those questions, then they're going to be pretty excited about, customer loyalty. They're going to be saying, oh man, this organization is really good. We're going to continue to work with them. We want to work, continue to use their services. We even have people that manage buildings, and maybe they lease space in buildings. And by developing a solid sustainability program that's well communicated, they can usually attract and retain tenants. So, a lot of different aspects here. It's not just manufacturers. It's going to be, service providers. If people are, even insurance companies or banking institutions, people are really interested in understanding what these folks are doing. And it is very important as you're going through your program to really focus on the financial and social value. We definitely know for a fact that organizations, like I mentioned earlier, with a good ESG program definitely have higher return on investment, higher performance as far as profits and that kind of thing. It's been proven in multiple studies, so that's really important to note. Another thing is the cost savings that are going to be realized through implementing a lot of the activities you've probably identified. For example, let's say you're an office an organization that uses a lot of paper, for example. If you're going to write a sustainable purchasing program and start to reduce paper use, you're not only going to save resources, but you're going to save a lot of money there, and you're conserving resources. We actually just did a waste diversion audit for an organization, and what was really interesting, it wasn't about the materials that we could divert from landfill that we saw in the dumpster. It was more about going back into their process and identifying all the valuable materials that were being thrown away needlessly because of poor procedures or a lack of understanding of how to manage materials and that kind of thing. And we're talking like millions of dollars of potential in savings there. Another thing is being able to demonstrate success to your organization's leadership. It's really key to communicate successes to different, to like your managers, the CEO, whatever, because oftentimes we're finding that, oh, well, yeah, sustainability is a nice thing, but what does it really do for us? Being able to communicate that information is going to be really big. And, that means getting down to, educating employees, educating management. But then when you do get a big win where you're going to save some money, you definitely want to be letting your management team know about that, because you're definitely going to have the benefit of greater efficiency, reduced operating costs, and all those things need to be communicated. And we also have to remember that these are things that will have a social value as well, because when you're reducing costs, you're reducing impacts, maybe there's the ability to provide your employees with more benefits or, different things like that. So various things to keep in mind here. And I really encourage anybody that's doing any kind of sustainability work to really get in the habit, and that's the key here, a habit of recording all information. So it's great to have goals and metrics, but if you're not measuring your performance towards that, it's not really going to be very effective at, being able to go back to management and say, hey, we've done some great stuff here, and these are the results. We're doing some work on a campus right now with a bunch of buildings, and we've made multiple recommendations on things they can do. They have these big overarching sustainability goals in their company to reduce their carbon footprint and save energy, reduce water, reduce waste. And the key is, we make these recommendations, and let's say they go in and do a lighting retrofit, or they make changes to their HVAC building automation system. They want to note the dates that that's happening, and they want to then be tracking and getting measurable results around that. So it's not just measuring the actual energy savings, it's noting when you made changes or did things, or maybe when you had an education session, or maybe when you had a meeting, and then, keeping an eye on that. So some examples of things to measure would be, maybe for manufacturers, it might be the number of sustainable products purchased versus non-sustainable. And actually, all of us on this webinar right now, if we have a sustainable purchasing program, we can all be measuring things like that. If you're buying materials or products or even office supplies or whatever to run your organization, you could be tracking that. I mentioned earlier about building owners, looking at what tenants are interested in leasing green space versus non-green spaces. Or if you are a company that sells something, whether it's a service or a product, you want to definitely measure the fact is, are your sales teams making more sales of products because of the green aspects of their company? They should be educated to ask questions with the people they're working with and communicating that information as they go along. So once you start getting all these successes and you actually get some results, it's really important to tell the world about it. You want to let people know, not only the world, but your key stakeholders. That could be maybe employees or management or even your customers or people in your supply chain. And the way we do this is through marketing. It could be through sustainability reports. We could be doing things around fact sheets or brochures, company newsletters. I highly encourage anybody who has sustainability activities going on to get something on your website, because I know that's going to be the first place people are going to look. Oh, let's check this company out and see if they have any sustainability information. So ideally, you want to make that really prominent. You want to have a clear button that says sustainability or corporate responsibility or corporate social responsibility, whatever it's going to be, so people can find it. And we do encourage anyone who's doing this kind of work to share whatever successes you've had. If there's certain milestones you've reached or there's certain goals that were achieved, really important to get that out there. And not only to the world, the big part of the world by throwing it out on the internet, but communicating that internally to your employees and other folks that are directly involved, because the more they hear about it, the more excited they're going to get, and that's a great way to get employees engaged. And we've talked a lot about that on past webinars, about getting better employee engagement and that kind of thing. So really getting this information out in a simple manner to the folks who are in the organization would be really important. I know in our own company, at least every quarter we do a review of where we are against our sustainability goals in our company meetings. I know there's other folks we've worked with that definitely communicate things, whether it's through a blog or an email now and then to employees. So really good to get that data out there, because the more you get people excited about this, the better value you're going to get out of the program. Also, another thing I mentioned earlier was training, and training sales teams on green initiatives. Some of you may not have sales teams, and maybe that's where you're going to train your employees on it. But getting these people empowered with knowledge is really huge. The more people know about sustainability, the more they know about your program, the better they can do at spreading the message. If you look at some of the great companies that have done some really good stuff with sustainability, for example, like Interface, and I mentioned this in the past, that Ray Anderson is one of my heroes and mentors. They started out early years really just on an education campaign where they were basically, they called it sensitivity hookup, and getting not only all their employees excited, but getting folks like people into the company, the employees, their contractors, suppliers, educated about general sustainability. And once you train one person and they get them educated, they can tell others, and the power of one starts out, but then it just really spreads out, and we get tons of people excited and really engaged in these activities. Another key thing is sustainability programs are going to give you the ability to reach new markets or new customers. I know for a fact that we're in the digital age. Just think about how many times you're on your phone every day, either looking up information or tweeting or texting or checking email or whatever. And information can be spread really rapidly, and we know that there's a lot of initiatives happening out in the world. For anybody that's on the line here that's selling building products, for example, green building codes, and I say codes, are becoming the norm now. Everything in green building was traditionally voluntary with the LEED standards, but then now there's a majority of new codes being developed that are going to require by law that green building happens. We also know there's many sustainable supply chain initiatives. Federal government's doing many things within the Department of Defense, the General Services Administration, and the Sustainable Purchasing Leadership Council is doing great stuff as well. And big institutional purchasers are going to basically be requiring that all services, products, et cetera, that are provided to them are done in a sustainable manner, and that's being well defined. Also remember, consumers, there's whole groups of people out there that are really interested in the sustainability of products and the things they use. It could be everything from, the healthcare products to personal care, and they're really starting to demand more on green products and the information so they understand if products are green or not. We are definitely in this age of information, and it's really easy to put out good things about an organization, but they can also, your reputation can be hurt really fast these days just by some tweets or something that goes viral about your organization doing something that's not viewed as very acceptable in the world of sustainability. So how do you get going on this? Well, definitely you want to start by making small changes, implementing your programs. I mentioned earlier, even if you're just trying to reduce paper use, that's a really easy thing to do. Simple thing that can happen within an organization. It's a means of getting people educated, and gives you the ability to save money. And we do another thing that we call funding sustainability with sustainability. So every time you achieve cost savings, getting that money that's been saved and using it to fund more initiatives and technologies, really working to get that built into the business strategy is really important. And getting things spread company-wide or really built into the culture. That's what I keep saying. The more you can make this just part of the way you do business, the better. And then you really want to be able to set up your model in a manner that allows people to have a very difficult time of replicating exactly what you're going to do. So you don't want to be, you want to set up your program that makes you different from your competitors, and you're able to communicate that and makes it very hard to copy. So great things going on. Again, remember, if you are interested in registering for the conference or the seminar we're doing on January 28th, please contact Caitlin. Lots of good stuff going on there. And it looks like I have a few questions now, so I'm gonna take these questions really quickly. There was a note, someone made a comment that's on the webinar right now that just said, when I was talking about Kaiser Permanente, that it says, FYI, Google also asked for this supplier information, and that's very true. We actually had a call with Google last week, and I know for a fact that just for the buildings that Google builds or operates, they are developing criteria on the products that they will allow to be integrated into the buildings, and there's going to be very specific criteria that product manufacturers must meet for their products to be used. And I know Google is probably going out into other supplier areas and asking these questions. So really important to remember that. Another question that we got here, it says, how do we continue to get our management to look beyond the upfront costs of sustainability? And that's a really good one. Usually that does require some investment to get a sustainability program. At a minimum, it's going to require someone's time. And I think the way you do that is by showing some successes. Being able to find an example in your company where you've done something and you've already gotten a result. I mentioned that paper saving thing, or maybe it's an energy saving initiative. Or better yet, if you know someone that's in a similar business that has had success, you can use that as an example to say, hey, look, this company did these things and they've already reaped this benefit, so we think we can do the same or even better, and we'd really like you to, fund this right now for us. Next question is, I already have sustainability goals developed and have a sustainability program going in my company, but we aren't seeing the returns we expected. How can we refocus our program to maximize value and avoid losing management commitment? And that's a really good question, because think about it. If you're not getting the results you wanted, there's going to be some reasons for that. And I can probably predict that most likely you don't have the support of the people that need to help integrate whatever your initiatives are. So what that does is going to involve is, pulling some people together, getting aligned with some key allies that are excited and interested in the program, and getting them to work with you to get some successes. And maybe also you have to think about, maybe your goals were too big and too challenging, and maybe, like I said earlier, take some small steps. Maybe try to get some energy savings, or try to, get a big win where you get a comment from, one of your customers saying that, hey, this sustainability thing is really great and we're glad to see you doing it, and providing that input. Again, just little things like that can really get the ball rolling and get the momentum going. Next question is, we've already addressed the low-hanging fruit at our organization in our program, and management is satisfied with our current returns. How can I communicate the advantages of really trying to step it up and take it to the next level? Well, you got the low-hanging fruit. That's awesome. So you've already showed results. I mentioned earlier about funding sustainability with sustainability. So, maybe being able to go to management and say, look, we've already saved $100,000, $500,000 by doing these initiatives. We want to go to the next level. We know to go to the next level, we might have to spend a little more money, or invest some capital, or get some outside help. That's where you're able to use those successes to show that we've done a sustainability assessment, we've identified some really good opportunities, we did the easy ones. Now we want to keep it rolling, because the return on investment can just keep on growing. And again, it's not just the dollar savings, it's also bringing in comments or testimonials from customers or suppliers, or even employees that are really excited about it and say that, maybe they're feeling energized that the company's doing these good things. So those are the kind of things you want to bring to management's attention, and see what you can do there. So that brings us up to the end of our time here. I am really happy to have been able to spend the time with all of you today, and I appreciate that you've been following these webinars on a regular basis. We really value comments and feedback, so anytime you want to let us know the type of things you'd like to hear. We are planning our webinar series for 2015. Right after we are done with the seminar on January 28th, we're going to be rolling out our next series for the webinars, and keep this rolling, because we've got a great following and a lot of people that are getting value out of this. So again, appreciate everybody being on today. Have a great holiday season. Have a very happy and prosperous and sustainable new year. And again, look forward to catching up with you all. Some of you I know will be attending our seminar on the 28th. Hope to see some others that are considering it. And look forward to seeing you all on future webinars. Thank you, and have a great time. Great holiday.